Hi, my name is Marco, and welcome to The Model Gene. Today, I'm going to be discussing some of the best and worst covers for May 2023. British Vogue opted for 5 different covers, highlighting people with different disabilities. I'm not a huge fan of featuring so many different covers, but I like the one with Justina Miles the most. It makes the strongest graphic statement, and that red dress is a great choice for a cover. Harper's Bazaar France has Iman Hammam on their cover, and although the styling is very pared back, Iman is commanding your attention. I think this is a really successful execution of a minimalist concept, simple and effective. American Vogue's May cover by Annie Leibovitz is a tribute to Karl Lagerfeld, although a more accurate description would be a tribute to the Karl Lagerfeld exhibition at the Met. For some reason, Vogue thought calling it a cover with his favorite models would help sell the magazine, although anyone following Chanel over the last decades would see the glaring omission of models like Claudia Schiffer, Abbey Lee Kershaw, and Cara Delevingne. In 2018, Lagerfeld told W Magazine that his favorite models at the moment were Luna Biel, as well as Adwoa Aboah. What about Brad Kroenig and his son Hudson, not to mention Baptiste Giabiconi? Casting aside, I hate these faked group shots where you can tell by the direction the hair is blowing that they have all been shot individually. The space heaters are such a tacky way to pretend that the image is raw and authentic when everything else is screaming the opposite. I know I complain about Annie Leibovitz a lot on this channel, and will undoubtedly continue to do so with whatever work she does for Vogue in the future, but I will say, all of the images from this editorial are nicer than the cover. My favorite being Shalom Harlow and Tom Brown, but I also love Anakiai and Valentino. Vogue France has one of my favorite models on the cover, the exquisite Mona Togar. Here, she has that perfect expression that is inviting but mysterious. The pose is great, I just think the cool tone of the skirt is throwing it off for me. From that same Fendi Spring-Summer 23 collection, there is a golden coppery skirt that I think would have fit much better. Similarly to American Vogue, there is another image from this editorial that I would have selected for the cover. Vogue Portugal, I salute you. Another fantastic move from their editor-in-chief and my favorite cover of the month. What I love most about Vogue Portugal is that I have no idea what I'm going to be getting from one issue to the next, but each time it is exciting and enjoyable. Here we have Colleen Heidemann looking sexy as ever at age 74, in the face of the pleasure issue. Every detail of the image is telling a story that is camp and fun, not to mention how well the pink pops against the grass. Emily Ratajkowski is on the cover of Vogue ESPAñA, shot by LLoyd in the Spanish town of Chinchón. I'm not sure if it's coincidental, but Wes Anderson's newest film, Asteroid City, was shot in the same town, a fitting parallel considering that LLoyd's photos have a very cinematic, narrative-focused quality to them. We're not just getting Emily Ratajkowski in a dress looking beautiful, we are getting a snapshot into a character she is playing, a mix of Sophia Loren, Monica Vitti, and Penelope Cruz. Be sure to check out the full story, it is really beautiful and a departure for Emily. Harper's Bazaar España has Christina Ricci on their cover, an image absolutely obliterated by Photoshop. The sclera of her eye has been brightened too much, and all of the veins have been removed. The skin has been overworked, especially under the eyes, the nasolabial folds, and her neck. This poor quality of retouching is expected for a local Orange County lifestyle magazine, but not for Harper's Bazaar. Vogue Czechoslovakia has Deborah Shaw in a Mugler for H&M collaboration, a fun use of this old geometric printed carpet. Deborah's smile lights up the photo. The pose is dynamic, and it is fitting to have someone who worked extensively with Thierry Mugler to show off this collaboration. Bella Hadid is on the cover of Vogue Italia's Artificial Intelligence issue, and who better to represent artificial than Bella Hadid? Despite the Instagram model on the cover, I really enjoy the work of photographer Carlijn Jacobs and her use of color. Speaking of nepotism, Lila Moss is on the cover of Vogue Korea. I understand the love for Kate Moss and what she used to look like, but her daughter has none of the same qualities that made Kate Moss special. They should just put up one of the old Tumblr photos of Kate Moss and Johnny Depp on the cover. It serves the same purpose of nostalgia. Now to my least favorite cover, we have Document Journal magazine making a very deliberate political statement with their cover of Saint Laurent's creative director, Anthony Vaccarello, and Academy Award-winning director, Pedro Almodovar, photographed by disgraced photographer Bruce Weber. Despite several male models alleging that Bruce Weber sexually assaulted them, the fashion industry at large has continued to support him. Condé Nast was forced into action after a New York Times article came out during the beginning of the Me Too movement about Bruce Weber and Mario Testino, saying, "We are deeply disturbed about the accusations and take this very seriously. In light of these allegations, we will not be commissioning any new work with Bruce Weber and Mario Testino for the foreseeable future." Independent magazines have instead jumped at what they see as an opportunity to work with a famous photographer, and since the New York Times article came out, Bruce Weber has worked for Document Journal, Icon Italy, Self-Service, Man About Town, Cap 74024, Holiday, and Hercules magazine. It is also important to note that in his first editorial with Hercules magazine after his alleged repeated pattern of abuse came to light to the general public, not a single fashion house refused to send clothes for the shoot, including Margaret Howell, James Pierce, Prada, Hanes, Levi's, Agnes B, Calvin Klein, Helmut Lang, Balenciaga, Dior Homme, Rick Owens, Dries Van Noten, Marni, Philip Lim, Jill Sander, among many others. Although this alleged monster has settled 2 sexual assault lawsuits against him and has the support of the most powerful people in the industry behind him, I want to shout out Model Alliance, a New York-based nonprofit that has been working tirelessly to improve the working conditions for models. The founder, Sarah Ziff, is a former model herself and knows all about the many abuses of power that go on in the fashion industry and has devoted herself to making change. Switching gears to men's fashion magazines, SCHÖN Switzerland has the iconic male model David Gandhi on their cover, and as great as he looks, the background is pulling my attention away from him. There are a lot of strange lighting anomalies going on here, starting with the main shaft of light coming from the left side of the image. His right shoe should also have that same sharp line across it from the light, and most glaringly, if that light is shining on the back wall, Gandhi's shadow should be projected on that wall given where he is standing. The door frame seems to have disappeared, David's reflection on the ground seems to be added in post-production, but the bag in the doorway does not have a reflection. Initially, I thought they shot David in a studio and just put the background in afterwards, but there is an accompanying video shot by Kane Leyland that shows they did shoot him on location. It looks like all the shapes in the background were an attempt to add some graphic interest to the cover. Photoshop is a great tool, but I always recommend using it with discretion and get as much as you can in camera. L'Officiel en Brazil has actor Michele Morrone on their cover, and what stood out to me was the lack of cohesion between the lighting of the subject and the background, especially in how the highlights and midtones are being treated. There's not much contrast in the subject, the highlights have been brought down significantly, making him seem very flat, but the background has not been edited in the same way. Here is what it would look like if the subject matched the contrast of the background, and alternatively, if the background matched the contrast of the subject. You can let me know which you prefer in the comments. Personally, I prefer the one where Michele has higher contrast, but I think both alternatives look better than the original. Man About Town magazine has Corey Milcreast covering 2 of their spring-summer issues. The first image is a massive disservice to Corey, who is now starring as King George in the Bridgerton spin-off, Queen Charlotte. The heavy sunglasses are covering so much of his face, which is puckered, rendering him unrecognizable, and the stylist, Luke Day, didn't even pay enough attention to bother asking an assistant to steam out the shirt collar. This cover looks like a lighting test before the actual shoot was about to start. The second cover is more successful because we actually see his most distinguishing facial feature, his eyebrows. Given that he is playing King George and that this series came out within a few days of the coronation of King Charles, I think it was a missed opportunity to infuse some narrative in the images. The only takeaway from these covers is that Tod's is one of the magazine's advertisers. Icon Italy has an ensemble cast of models, and I think there is a lot to like about this cover. The styling is nice, the models all work well with each other, but I do think it is bizarre to have 7 models on a cover called Multicolor Surfer, where they all have pale white skin. The surfing community is really diverse and inclusive, so I would have loved to see that reflected here as well. Be sure to subscribe to find out who comes out on top next month in the Battle of the Covers.